is Cindy Leach, your polymer clay tutor, and in today's studio tip, I'm going to show you how to make a stepped graduated color blend. Now, color blends are used in polymer clay projects for all sorts of neat things, including canes and other projects. I have a pair of Sweet Pea earrings here that were made using a color blend. Now, you may have heard of the Skinner blend, and it is something like this, where the color will shift from one color to another color. Well, originally the way it was done was in a measured out way, and I'm going to show you that method today so that you can have an idea where the whole color blending kind of idea started. Now, I've rolled out, we've got some different color blends. We'll just ignore the yellow and gold one here first. We'll start off with the white and black color blend. What I've done is I rolled out a sheet of polymer clay with my pasta machine, and originally they would have rolled it out with a hand roller because pasta machines, they only started using them for polymer clay somewhere in the 80s or so. Anyways, what I've done is I took a little tiny square cutter, a little cookie cutter type tool, and I used those as my amounts of clay. Then what I did is I measured out 6 white squares and mixed it up to make this white ball. Surprise, surprise. Then for the next blend I did 5 white blocks and 1 black, and I got this gray color here. Next I went 2 black and 4 white, and so on all the way till I had 6 only of black. Each one I mixed by hand and got these little blocks of color. When I laid them next to each other, right here you can see that they are basically a blend from white to black, only it's quite stepped. You can actually see the lines differences here. Now, if I had used smaller amounts and maybe more of them, I could have got those lines a little bit closer together and less of a step, so to speak. But it's you can see it's kind of quite a labor-intensive type method. Now, other things that come into play with doing this type of thing, well, mixing colors in any way, is saturation. Now, the black here is obviously a darker color than the white, so there's a fair amount of dominance with the black. There's more gray here, say that there's not a lot of white strength across here, but it's not too bad. It's fairly even. In the case here where I've got from gold, Primo Gold to Primo Cadmium Red, the red has such a high saturation that it is much more dominant, and you can see that in the color blends here, especially coming down to this end. This one here, you can hardly tell that there's any gold in it at all. And then it isn't until you get down to these other colors here where the gold is strong enough to balance with the red and get any sort of color shift. You can see it on this blend here on the steps. Most of them at the top end here are quite orange, and then you only start to see the shifts down to this lower end. So that is an issue when you're doing any color blending, to understand the saturation levels. And actually this method here is a good way to see just how those saturation levels work. So that is the way that they used to do color blends. There are lots of other ways to do them, and I will go into that in another video. So I hope that was interesting for you. I wanted to ask you a question, is have you ever made one of these graduated step blends, and can you see yourself using them in any way? Also, if you like this video, make sure to give it a press that like button. That would be great. And if you have any questions yourself, you can leave those in the comment section below. So I will see you in another video at another time. Bye for now.